Hi, so I'm sitting here in the park and it's raining blossoms. Hi, I'm Jeremy Scott and welcome to another episode of the Re-Emerging Earth podcast, the No Frills podcast, which discusses and talks about all kinds of spiritual things, how they affect us in this life and perhaps in the afterlife as well. And it's all with the intention of helping us and guide us out of the darkness we find ourselves in currently and into a more enlightened way, a way of brightness, a way of love, peace, joy, fulfillment, freedom, all these kind of wonderful things that we want in life. Yeah, so sitting in the park, different place from where I was last time. This is a very sort of enclosed space or sheltered spot really, because it's like a little alcove kind of thing. Not quite sure what you would call it, but it's got like 3 benches spread out, and in the centre there's like what used to be a bird bath or water feature, no longer is. There's a few shrubberies, topiaries and trees and that surrounding, so it's very sheltered. But there is still a bit of a breeze, and behind me there's some trees with blossoms and just been showered with petals. How about that? Isn't that wonderful? They're talking about things which are spiritual. I mean, when you know, whatever religion you happen to follow, it's always about faith, isn't it? You know, when you follow a religion or when you're part of a religion, you're expected to have faith. You know, whether it's faith in, say, in the Christian God, you know, Jewish God, Islamic God, it doesn't really matter, Hindu gods, you know, whatever religion it happens to be, you believe in a creator. Well, even if you're a shaman, you know, you believe in a creator, an ultimate source of all things. Even as someone, you know, you may not have religious beliefs per se, but you believe that there is a source of all things. You know, and that's a belief that you have, that's a faith that you have. And, you know, it hasn't been proved, has it, you know, that any of these actually exist. We don't know 100% for definite, you know, that there is a source of something. We only surmise there must be because of everything that surrounds us and everything that we experience, you know, and it also comes from ancient writings. But even those guys, you know, back then, who were writing those things, who were perhaps channeling messages or, you know, being inspired to write things, they couldn't say hand on heart 100% that what they were writing was the absolute truth, and that you know, there was an actual God or there was a certain way of doing things. This is what they, or he or she or it or whatever wants us to do. This is the message. You know, we put faith in it. You know, for, well, hundreds or say thousands of years, a couple of thousand years at least, maybe probably longer, thousands of years, we've believed in the creation story. In that, you know, from the Christian point of view at least, and maybe also, you know, in the Jewish and Islamic side of things as well. You know, you believe the story of Adam and Eve. They were the first 2 people created, and from them all of the sort of human life came. But that obviously calls into question such things as incest and you know, how, you know, where did their children find wives and things like that, because I think they only had like boys, they didn't have daughters at that time. So does that mean that there was an incestuous relationship in that regard, you know? And there's other situations like that which are just unexplained. And I believe, and obviously I have no proof of this, but I believe that perhaps they were just metaphors. They represented the first peoples that roamed the earth at that time. You know, the first ones of the anatomically modern human, as it's called now. And more recent research into the end of last century, into this century, has uncovered that we as humans, in the form that we are, in the shape that we are, you know, how we walk around, talk and everything like that, we as anatomically modern humans, as we're called these days, we're about 210,000 years old. That's our history. We suddenly appeared, it would appear at this moment in time, around 210,000 years ago, and that's to do, well, that comes from like archaeological research and digs and things that were found in certain areas of the world and so on. And certainly there were other human species all around. We got Lucy, it was a famous one, wasn't it? It was like 4.5 million years ago that she died or was around. You know, I think where she was at, Ethiopia or somewhere like that. I think it was Ethiopia. And there's other ones, you know, they've been a lot closer to us, or other ones who were further away from us, you know, millions of years ago, that are not connected to us, but, you know, they were still humanoids, if you like. There is a term for it. I'm not really calling it, well, I just call them humanoids. But even Neanderthals, many, you know, for a long time, many thought that Neanderthals were our ancestors. And then we discovered that, well, actually, they were only around like something like 50,000 years ago or whatever. They were actually our contemporaries. Well, that's when they died out. You know, they were actually our contemporaries. So when you get those, I think it's in Northern Europe, they have a stronger or a higher amount of Neanderthal DNA. That may well be because of interbreeding, and is the actual thinking. But for whatever reason, they actually died out. Whether it's because farming came in and it kind of took over the hunter-gatherer kind of situation, and because the Neanderthals were mainly like in Northern Europe or in Europe, and they couldn't cope with that, or you know, the areas where they used to roam around, you know, and forage for food and so on, were no longer there, so they became extinct. It's, to put it into context, that's very much like what we're doing today with some of the wildlife, you know, with intensive farming and things like that. You know, we farm areas and we destroy habitats, you know, because we want to grow food, or we want to grow crops which are going to bring us some income and so on like that. And then, you know, the animals, the animal species, the insects, the birds and so on, who normally would live in those habitats, either they find another place to go, or if they're totally relying on those habitats, then they go extinct. And that could be a similar kind of thing that happened with Neanderthals. You know, but that's the kind of thing that's been kind of, if you like, proved, because we've got the actual evidence. The only evidence that we have from, you know, about, say, the existence of a god, a source, or even some of the prophets, you know, in the early days and so on, like Noah and Adam and Eve and things like that, is anecdotal. You know, it's been written down, you know, in a long time, you know, thousands of years or 1,000+ years after the fact. When Moses penned those first 5 books, I think he's been attributed to penning those first 5 books of the Bible, which are known as the Torah, what are the Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers and Deuteronomy. I remember, I don't know if they're in that order, but yeah, I think that there's something like that. But when he penned those first 5 books, I think it's been kind of worked out that it was possibly around 1,600 years or so after, you know, when Adam and Eve were supposed to have appeared, you know. And even there, I mean, that's just a guesstimate on their kind of situation, what they were believing back then. Because, as I said, I mean, it could well be that Adam and Eve was a lot older than that. It goes back even further than that. They didn't have any written records of what was happening with Adam and Eve and Noah and you know, other ones, Seth and Cain and Abel and all that. They didn't have any written records. It was all passed down word of mouth. And as you know, I mean, things can get changed when you pass things down orally. Little embellishments here and there, bits and pieces left out, you know, questions being asked that they haven't got the answers for, so they make things up. And that's how myths and legends get you know, brought to life, so to speak, as well. So from a spiritual sense, you know, to believe that we are all energy, and that we work together in an energetic way, and we want to be the one, one with all things. We have to believe in that, because if we believe in something, we can actually make it happen as well. So I'm sure at some point, for those who believe in a God as a source, including myself, I'm pretty sure that will come to pass at one time, that we'll come face to face with that entity that we know as God, who is, we're a part of, and he's also, he or she, or whatever gender you want to use, is a part of ourselves as well. It does take a lot of faith, it takes a lot of belief, and when you believe in something, truly believe in something, you can make miracles happen. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And I'll tell you something, that it's based on law of attraction, but law of attraction is also in that field as well, that you have to believe in something to manifest it. And as a few years ago, I had some financial issues, and I was facing eviction. It was back in 2017. It was around about this time, actually, in 2017. And I had to, because of it was job loss, there was a bit of muck up with benefits and things like that, and I fell behind on my rent. It wasn't anything deliberate or anything like that. I struggled to pay the rent, but I chose to buy food perhaps, but I wasn't getting the money in to pay the rent. And I paid what I could. I did pay in part what I could at the time. I was showing willingness. But eventually I got served eviction notice, and I had to find, within 10 days or something like that, I had to find £2,500. So I don't know what that is in dollars today, maybe about $3,000 or something like that. And it came right down when I asked certain friends I had at the time. They were unwilling to pay me or to lend me that money, even though I asked, I said, I'd pay back 50% on top, or even 100%. I'd pay whatever they wanted, whatever terms and conditions they wanted. They weren't willing to do that for whatever reason. And it came down to the Friday before the Monday. The Monday was the final day. That was when I was going to court, and it would go to the judge and so on. And it came to the Friday, and I received notification from my local council that they had some money in a fund, that they wanted to use, and did I have a use for it? So obviously I told them about my situation. I went and seen them on the Friday morning. By the Friday afternoon, they told me they were paying me £2,500. They were going to put that into my account, or into my housing association's account, if they would accept that. Now I very quickly got on to my landlord, and they accepted that. So when I went to the court on Monday, obviously the eviction was stopped. And that was manifesting. I was manifesting that because I was using law of attraction principles at that time. I was writing it down, and I was focusing on it, and I was focusing on using positive words and things. So I believed I was going to get that money, that I wouldn't be ending up on the streets. I've had other situations like that. That was just one particular situation. I've had other situations like that throughout my life where I believed something would happen, and it happened. So there's something there to do with belief when it comes to looking at the spiritual side of things, and especially when it comes to something, say, like mediumship. As you know, I'm a medium in training, so I'm still learning, I'm still training, and I'm certainly making a lot of progress there as well. But when you get a message from a loved one, the first thing that we do is tend to think, oh, that was just my imagination. And I know, because I've been there. And me being the skeptical kind of person I am, I rejected those messages I was receiving, because I didn't believe in afterlife sort of communications, or after death communications, as it's sometimes called. So I didn't believe that there was a a life after death, certainly, but not in the form that it's given. Like that our loved ones are there as souls, or whatever, and and they come back to us and to help and guide us, and we ourselves are also souls. I didn't really believe that until I started my mediumship studies, and that's just over a year ago or so. And really started getting into that past lives and things like that. Because before then, what I believed was when we passed on, when we died, our physical remains stayed here. We're all energy. I knew that. I believed that we were all energy. So the lower vibrational energy, which makes us more visible, as I've explained before, that was here. That stays here and goes back to the chemicals, that make up this wonderful planet that we live on. But the actual essence of me, the part of me that's you would consider the soul, that's considered to be me, that actually would go back to source and then be reused in whatever way source saw fit. And whether that was to come back here again as a human or as a plant or whatever, that was the kind of thing that I believed, that because energy was all one, we're all part of that energy, and we went back to source, and then we got our energy, we lose the identity, if you like, of who we are, who we were, and so on. So I didn't believe in past life regressions and things like that, or talking to dead people, if you like, because I had this vision of the Victorian, Edwardian sort of era, the seances and things like that. And also when I was younger, I'd say I was about 30, I was with a lady who went to spiritualist churches, and as a confirmation of whether I should be in a relationship with her, she took me to a friend who was a medium. And this medium had a black cat. And I didn't go in the house or anything, I just stood outside. And the indication would be if the cat allowed me to touch it, I'd be okay. I'd be the one. And obviously, I stroked the cat, there was no problem. And she mentioned a couple of other things about me and so on, that I'd be successful and all that. But when that relationship started to fall apart, we went back to that medium, and obviously the cat attacked me. So that gave me a bad experience. So I reckon she had maybe a pin or something that she stuck into the cat, because she had her hand underneath, and maybe she squeezed the cat or something, and it obviously thought it was me that was attacking it, kind of thing, So I always thought it was like a trick, and they were doing this kind of trick things. Even though I'd been to the spiritual church, I'd been to one of their meetings, and I actually picked up a couple of things, like clairvoyant wise. I picked up a couple of images and so on, and people were able to pick them up from me, but I couldn't explain it because I didn't have the training. I didn't know what I was picking up. And even though there's been other things in my life that have happened, when I've heard sounds, voices, my name being called, deja vu, all kinds of things like this, I still didn't believe, that you could sort of communicate with those who have passed, who have transitioned. That's changed, obviously, because now I do believe that, and as I continue to learn, I believe more. So you can change your beliefs, is the point I'm really making here. You can really turn things around and believe something completely different. And we know what it's like currently with situations in the world. We have those who believe they're in the right, and they will do anything they can to prove that they're right. We've had that in recent times in politics. We've got it now with another situation in Eastern Europe with Ukraine and so on, Russia, where a certain person considers himself to be doing the right thing from his point of view, from his belief. So he's going all out with that, even though we all consider him to be on the other side, that he's wrong. And time will tell. That's the way I look at it. Time will tell. And I do believe that particular situation is going to take a significant sort of turnaround very shortly, within the next month or two. But belief, when you believe in something, it truly is a wonderful tool And you have to believe, you just don't say in your head, yeah, I believe that. It has to be right deep in the core of you. It has to be right in your heart that you believe in it. It has to be a heartfelt belief before it really starts to kick in, and that's why you get stories of faith healers, people being healed, at conventions, or whether it's to do with spiritual or whether even secular, they believe that they were being healed. But even, like I said before, I'm a Reiki master teacher, in the Sui Reiki system. When Mrs. Tanaka went to Dr. Hayashi, she believed that she would be healed, and she was, from tumors and things that she had and other ailments that she had at that time, and she apparently was. I wasn't there, so I can't say for definite. I'm only going by what's been written. But that's what she claimed, that she was healed, which both Western and normal, say Eastern medicine, were unable to do anything about it. But that's why she wanted to learn Reiki, because of that, the healing properties that she experienced, and she was able then to bring it over to the West. And that's how Sui got noticed by the emperor, because of the 1923 Kobe earthquake, and Mikawa Sui was going along helping people using his the Reiki, and he and his students were helping people at that time, easing their pain, easing the suffering, and even mending broken bones, as the story goes, as the account goes. And if you believe in things like that, then you know that how powerful Reiki can be, and there's certainly anecdotal evidence of what it can do. I personally, I've only experienced it more in aches and pains, and maybe I had some damage to my ribs a few years ago, and I was able to do something there. I believe I did something there which was very good, which could have been a lot more difficult. But belief in something, and it's like what Jesus has reported to have said, if you've got the faith of a mustard seed, in other words, the belief of a mustard seed, you'll be able to move mountains. And that's, that is real power, that is real belief. And that's how, when you have that kind of belief, you can levitate, like some monks have apparently done. You can, even walk through walls and things like that, because you become part of the energetic field, as apparently others have done through history. I haven't experienced any of that myself. I haven't seen it myself, I haven't witnessed myself. I'm only gone by the accounts that I've read. But belief in yourself is probably first and foremost above all things. When you have belief in yourself, you will be capable of a heck of a lot more than you currently think or believe. Now, if you amp that belief up, you will be able to achieve absolutely, practically, I would say, anything you like. There are those who do astral travel and remote viewing. There you go, you can travel to anywhere you like through astral travel, if you believe that it works for you and that it's true. Remote viewing, you can check in any area of the world that you want, perhaps even any area of the universe, I don't know. If you have that belief in it. All these kinds of things, it's all down to belief. We are all energy beings. We are souls enjoying a human experience. We are light beings. We are energy beings enjoying a human experience, a solid, if you like, human experience. But we are essentially made of energy. And when we amp up the vibrations, our own personal vibrations, and with that belief that we can do so, who knows what we can achieve? Who knows what we can achieve, So if we all did that, I've mentioned it before, we pray for peace, and we believe it's going to happen, who knows where that's going to lead? Leave that thought with you. I'll leave that thought with you. What can you do? What would you do if you believed that you could do it? And then try it out. See what kind of results you get. That's it for now, guys. Hope you enjoyed this little chat. And until next time, Namaste.